West Block was granted exclusive access to the first threat specialist in the Protective Behavioral Analysis Unit of the RCMP, Gabe Letourneau.
From physical threats
what are you doing in Alberta?
To verbal ones.
You traitors.
And everything in between. Canadian politicians of all stripes are increasingly under attack.
These are requests for protection from MPs, ministers, cabinet senators. Everything has gone up with a projection that if it's going to continue to go up.
So that's almost a vertical line, but it might be underrepresented.
Yeah, correct.
Incredible.
Gabriel Letourneau is the very first threat specialist for the RCMP's protective services.
It comes down to the basic principle of protecting democracy. That is important to me.
An unsub, a seasoned one, and he's leaving a calling card.
Like the show Criminal Minds, where elite FBI agents profile twisted perpetrators. Gabriel has a similar role, but he specifically analyzes those who've been identified by police, figuring out if they could pose a serious threat to Canadian politicians.
One of the things, and I know there's the pathway to violence,
yes,
which is something that people probably are familiar with shows like Criminal Minds. You're doing it in real life. And obviously each case is different, but in your experience, what is one of the biggest red flags that you think someone is going to move from maybe just being angry on Twitter and saying unacceptable things to actually posing a physical threat to someone?
Well, there are certain tools that we use, especially on the intake, and certain, we call them red flag behavior. Homicidal fantasies is one of them. Not just like I want to kill somebody, but very descriptive fantasies that are openly stated. And also suicidal ideation is one of them. So those two, they're pretty obvious, you know, but they get my attention very quickly, especially even if they're in combination, one are, you know, homicidal and suicidal. Those, you know, need attention right away.
You're not afraid to die to carry out this threat.
No, exactly.
Which is the biggest deterrent for most people naturally, is a fear of their own death.
Yeah, exactly. The person that we're assessing is either at low risk, moderate risk, or high risk. And when we talk about this, we're talking about unlikely, likely, very likely. It's never zero risk. So and even when I'm assigning low risk, it doesn't mean no risk. Like it's a non-0% chance, right?
If they're on your radar, they're no longer at a 0% chance.
No, exactly. So if they get to my desk, they've done things that warrant my attention.
Take a look at what happened.
The shooter who attempted to assassinate Donald Trump on the election trail had previously encouraged political violence online. And the day after the shooting, online calls for civil war spiked more than 600%.
What we're witnessing is that there's a rise in IMVE, ideologically motivated violence extremism, and that's propagated online through polarization of the dialogues online, and misinformation and disinformation that's being propagated through social media, online platforms.
When you said the ideological motivation, do you see more of one type of ideology than another, or is it a variety of extremism across the spectrum?
Depends also the types of policy that are put up by the government. So it really depends on the ebbs and flow of what's going on within our country and what the decision of our legislature is taking, really.
Well, examples of American political violence are numerous, including the attack on the pinnacle of their democracy. Canada is not immune. Harassment of members of parliament by the public has skyrocketed between 700 and 800% in the last 5 years. In 2019, the House of Commons Sergeant-at-Arms opened 8 files on threats against MPs. Compare that to 2023, when threat files shot up to 530. We got a glimpse of a few of the written threats that have been sent to Canadian politicians. And as hard as it is to believe, these are the very mildest of cases.
This is to give you an idea of the type of things that are sent to our protected persons. We've redacted certain names and certain words that really shouldn't be on TV. When the Protected Behavioral Analysis Unit receives cases like this, The first question I ask myself is why? Why are they saying this? What's the motivation? What's the end goal? What do they want? If we look at the second sample, I would dearly love to shove a barrel of a shotgun in his mouth, look at him in the eye, and wish hi. So this tells me that there's some level of ideation with the person. And when I'm saying that, is you're seeing a person describe a weapon and a specific action and how they indicate they dearly love. They want to do this. So it's more than just a passing thought. It's more than a generic threat. It's something that's fantasized. The shotgun is there, mouth. It's not any other places. It's the mouth. And to look at him in the eye, like having an eye contact, right? Third one, you effing pedophile satanist. So right away, I know that this person has attachments to some sort of conspiracy theories or ideology that are being, circulated online, maybe QAnon or otherwise.
That particular QAnon conspiracy theory popped up during the 2016 U.S. election and led to a shooting in downtown Washington.
And if you look at the bottom here, where it's all in capitals, locked inside, and you think, I'm kidding, try me, watch your back, you're dead. When people type in all capitals, it's often to express rage and to emphasize how angry they are. So that's another thing I'm looking at here. And the last one, we're talking about debt to Canada, debt to Canadian law, which is designed to protect politicians, and they have name for every single action against bleep and bleep in politics, but our word is called a summary count of sexual assault, debt to women in politics, debt to you. So the last sentence where they talk specifically about summary count of sexual assault, this tells me that it's linked to a grievance. What they feel is the problem that they want to rectify has to do with sexual assault. Some of them are way more graphic in nature, or they're way more personal. And when I say personal, it's not just the public figure that's being addressed, but also family, children. So that makes it way worse.
How stressful is that job on you? There's a lot of pressure to know when somebody might act.
It does weigh on me. Sometimes, some nights I'll have. There's cases that kept me up, genuinely. Because, for example, if we can't find the person, right? If we can't find the subject that we're trying to interrupt or prevent from doing something horrible, then sometimes I'll be worried. Failing at doing my job properly has immense consequences.